Hi, I'm Andrew. Grace is my sister.
I'm Grace. Andrew's my brother.
We're broadcasting to you from District 14, the podcasting district.
Why is it called that, you ask?
Because 14 years ago, a movie was released which was based on a best-selling YA book written by Suzanne Collins.
We saw it on opening weekend and exited the theaters, forever changed.
That movie was called The Hunger Games.
It's difficult to articulate what a phenomenon the Hunger Games books and films became during the 2010s unless you were actually there.
And that's where we come in.
Every episode will cover one chapter of the Hunger Games.
And share secrets the Capitol doesn't want you to know about.
We'll also share secrets that you might not want to know about.
So this is your last chance to avoid spoilers or potentially upsetting content.
The series centers around the death of minors, and it doesn't get much better from there.
So, without further ado,
Happy Hunger Games!
And may the odds be ever in your favor. Section 1. Previously on District 14. So, you know how Katniss wanted literally anyone other than herself to be reaped as District 12's female tribute?
Well, we've got some good news. And some bad news.
Oh, let's tell our audience the good news first.
Well, the good news is literally anyone other than Katniss was reaped.
Yeah, that's great and all. The bad news is that the person who was reaped in her place was Prim.
Wah, wah, wah.
How will Katniss react?
And what unlucky young man will accompany Prim as District 12's male tribute?
All this and more non-stop coverage of Hunger Games LXXIV coming to you live from District 14.
District 14 is made possible by viewers like you. Thank you.
Section 2, Reruns. Hello everybody, welcome to our second ever episode. Last time we set and more time setting up the rules of the podcast and the story in general. Now we're going to get into the major inciting incident that everybody remembers.
Mm-hmm.
I think that everybody knows this scene or has seen it been parodied at some point when the movies were coming out of I Volunteer's Tribute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now people use it in their group chats as a little quirky thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's meant to be one of the most devastating moments in a young woman's life.
Yeah, it's a big act of sisterly love, but then it's like, hey, can you go to the gas station and get me some gas station sushi? I Volunteer's Tribute.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right off the bat, Katniss talks about how absolutely gutted she is.
So she talks about how she remembers one of those times she was climbing up in a tree. She fell 10 feet to the ground, lost all the air in her body, felt like she was going to die. And then she says, "This is how I feel right now, trying to remember how to breathe, unable to speak, totally stunned as the name bounces around the inside of my skull."
Yeah.
So she is freaking out. Oh my gosh, it's her sister who's been raped. And the entire time she hasn't even really been thinking about that. That didn't even cross her mind as a possibility.
Yeah, because it was only once.
Exactly. She wouldn't let it cross her mind.
Yeah, as we discussed later on in the chapter, she signed up for a bunch of tesserae, but she never let Ed Prim sign up for tesserae.
Mm-hmm.
So she was like, yeah, I'm probably going to get chosen, but I think that the odds of her getting picked are just very slim compared to a lot of other families.
True.
Yeah, I would say that the Everdeen family is doing better than some other people in the district because they have Katniss being such a talented hunter and haggler when she's working with the merchants.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the mom is somewhat contributing a little bit, and Prim is little, but she's also shown to be very skilled at healing and also has her goat that she can make milk and cheese from.
True. Very true.
Yeah, so they are doing a little bit better. There's also, they say, a boy from the... I'm going to in trouble no matter how I pronounce it. I'm just going to say the seam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I pronounce it in my head as the sham or the seam. I'm just going to say the seam. I like the way it sounds a little more.
Yeah.
And if we pronounce it the incorrect way, I'm sure you'll let us know in the comments.
True.
Thank you. All right, they say that a boy from the seam, I think maybe I start to fall and he caught me. I don't think we know who this is. I doubt it'd be Gale. Because you'd think that she'd be like, Gale catches me.
It's just some random person nearby her, I think. I mean, they're all sorted by age and, all that. So am I remembering correctly that the younger folks are closer to the front?
Well, yeah, they'd have to be, because that way, if there's a bunch of 18-year-olds at the front, you won't be able to see who they are.
True, because they'd likely be taller.
Yeah, and I imagine that they would have it so the youngest people are at the front for in the movie, they show it as the boys and girls being divided into two very specific sections. So that's why the line about the boy confuses me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will always try to bring up the movie based on some of the visuals and how it inspired me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I guess it's just like a very decent person who's like, okay, Katniss, we can hold you steady.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they don't say the age of the boys, so I'm going to presume that they're around 16 or 17, so around Katniss's age.
Mm-hmm. And she talks about how in the crowd she can hear the entire crowd murmuring unhappily, as they always do when a 12-year-old gets chosen, because no one thinks this is fair.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was just a really interesting visual of even the folks in the beginning who were like betting on the odds of folks and everything like that. Like, it's a very somber environment seeing that a 12-year-old is going into the games.
Yeah. Yeah, and it has to be upsetting for everybody because this is generational trauma where you have 74 years of kids who grew up being like, oh my god, I could go in there, and ended up not going in. Or at least knew someone who went in. Because I'm not sure what the entire population of District 12 is, but you get the sense that some people are like, oh no, not them, I'm really close with their family, or gosh, that's my best friend or a family member.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and even if you don't know them, it's still upsetting.
Absolutely. And so she's walking up, and Katniss sees that she has the back of her shirt untucked, like the little ducktail. And before that, she's totally disconnected. Like, she's like, maybe I fell, like, what's happening? She's in her head. And then suddenly seeing that, she comes back to herself. She screams out Prim's name. People make way so she can walk up. And then this is the movie moment. This is the thing that's in all those group chats, the GIF, where she says, I volunteer. I volunteer as tribute.
Yeah, and I like to point out a tiny little difference is that in the movie, Prim tucks in her own shirt. How did it get unstuck again? Did it just like pop out like one of those dickies that you see people wear when they're comedians and they just go flipping up? But when she got reaped, when her name was chosen. And in the movie, they actually have it so Prim tucks it back in herself. So that shows she's like, oh my god, I gotta grow up now. I'm gonna be in the Hunger Games. And then Katniss just goes ballistic and it's like, hey, wrestling with the peacekeepers to try to push the front as she's screaming, I volunteer! And then she straightens out and she's more professional and she says, I volunteer as tribute.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would like to point out that Katniss says, no, it's Prim that says, no! My question is, would Effie be like, oh, actually, she has the right of first refusal, and she said no, sorry, Katniss.
Well, I think it's the issue because you think about the career districts where there's a lot of people who volunteer as tribute, and they kind of have to go back and forth on that. I think probably if someone volunteers, the other person isn't allowed to say no. Because you think about the future books where Haymitch is reaped into the games, and then Peeta goes, I volunteer as tribute.
Yeah.
And that's that. That is that. Like, there's no, like, oh, there's this loophole, or, oh, we have to do things in a specific way. Like, that is the only option that they have.
It seems a little strange, though, because what if someone from one of the career districts wanted to go into the games?
Well, that's the whole thing, is they're trying to volunteer. And so you have a number of people who are all volunteering. And I guess it's whoever wins at the end, whoever wants it the most and continues to volunteer. I think it's kind of like when you're betting for something, where whoever does the biggest bet at the end wins it.
Okay.
So, like, if you put your name in too early and then someone bets over you, maybe you don't get to do it again.
Maybe what it is that the amount of tesserae you take out plays a factor in it. Like, Katniss would obviously surpass Prim because she never took any out.
Right.
Like, maybe if you really want to go into the games, you take a bunch of tesserae to feed your family, and so you'll get entered into the games.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm thinking, because then later on, Cato volunteers, and there doesn't seem to be any strong objection that Katniss notes.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. But Effie does vaguely make reference to it. Like, reaping is not common in the districts, and especially in District 12. Like, except for the career districts, it's rare to get a volunteer from anywhere.
Yep.
And then Effie says, but I believe there's a small amount of introducing the reaping winner and then asking for volunteers. If one does come forth, then we... She trails off, unsure of herself. What does it matter? Says the mayor. He's looking at me with a pained expression on his face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the mayor's just kind of stepping in to, like, help smooth the moment over a little bit. And she says that is that there's pain in his face, and he feels sorry for Katniss because she sells some of her wares to him, and also because he might recognize her from when she accepted the medal on her father's behalf after he died.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "Look, what does it matter? Just let her come forward."
Yeah.
And Prim is screaming hysterically behind me. She's wrapped her skinny arms around me. "No, Katniss, no! You can't go!" If Prim tried to volunteer as tribute, that would have been a darkly comic moment. You kind of imagine an SNL skit like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I volunteer for volunteer. No, you can't do that. No take backsies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Prim says no, and apparently that's not enough to get the person sent back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm guessing if you volunteer, that's absolute.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe Effie was talking more about the tradition of it all. I'd just be interested to get a book later on from the perspective of a career district and being like, okay, so if you volunteer, then the two of you have to... Let's compare how much tesserae you guys took out.
Right.
And then if it's an equal amount, then the escort gets to pick, or the mentors get to pick, or the mayor gets to pick. Mm-hmm. Because for the career districts to be like, we have to send the best possible candidate this year. Mm-hmm. And also I'm wondering if you're volunteering for the districts, what year, and you are eligible repeat age, at what year do you volunteer?
Right.
Like, do you want to wait until like the very end so you have the most muscle mass?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't share many details about the correct way to do it. It only kind of mentions, like, well, the way Katniss did it was incorrect, but...
Yeah, it's unorthodox, but, like, I get the sense that nobody's volunteered for so long, it's kind of forgotten. And Effie was not expecting this at all.
And it also makes what is usually a very boring ceremony a little bit more interesting.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other thing that I was wondering is, what if multiple people volunteer at the same time? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I think the tesserae would be the tiebreaker for a lot of things.
Yeah.
But anyway, like, hey, the people in District 12 are gobsmacked. They were already upset that Prim's getting sent up, but then they're like surprised and also definitely moved by Katniss's decision, because they're like, oh my god, but we didn't think that this would be the last time we would ever see her.
Yeah, and there's a whole part where, so she's on stage, she's like, oh my goodness, that must be your sister. This is Effie Trinket. And she says, let's give a big round of applause to her newest tribute. And then the book says, to the everlasting credit of the people of District 12, not one person claps. So everyone's just sitting there in silence. And I think what's really cool about this is they talk about, I stand there unmoving while they take part in the boldest form of dissent they can manage. Silence, which says we do not agree. We do not condone. All of this is wrong. I think that's really powerful, especially in a televised moment where she's like, everybody clap! And then nobody does it at all. And then from there, they do the 3-finger signal.
Yeah, the Girl Scout one.
The Girl Scout one, exactly. But it's interesting. She talks about how it usually was used at funerals. It was kind of an old gesture. So it's really a beautiful thing that they're all using it in this circumstance.
Yeah, basically because they feel like this will be their last chance to say goodbye to her properly while she's still alive. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, it makes you wonder if the Girl Scouts reside in the capital and then took over. Or the Girl Scouts took over District 12 or something. Mm-hmm. You know what? How is there no cookie district?
No cookie?
Yeah, because the Girl Scouts have amazing cookies, and you can only get them at certain times a year.
True.
So maybe the Girl Scouts went to the capital and they have a cookie-based economy. Mm-hmm. And the reason all the districts agreed to become part of Panem was to get access to the cookies, but then they were like, "Psych, you guys rebelled, no more cookies for you," and Hunger Games. They're like, "No, not the Thin Mints!"
Not the Thin Mints. Exactly. Not the Do-si-dos.
Not the Do-si-dos. Exactly. Yeah, I would also like to point out something else. In this chapter, we don't see Astrid's reaction in their mother.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, my guess is that she's in a disassociative state right now. She's just like, oh my god, I just went through the ringer of both of my daughters being reaped at the same time. And now, and I just don't know how to feel. They do cut to her twice in the movie, but she acts more like... Let's see, what's a good comparison? Oh no, they're out at gas station sushi.
Yeah.
You're like, oh no.
Yeah, she's very disconnected as a person.
Yeah. I may be wrong, and she's mentioned here somewhere in this chapter in the present, but other than that, we only see her in the past when Katniss is talking about the time after her father died.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And who comes to help out but good old Haymitch?
Classic Haymitch.
He's in danger of crying, but she's in danger of crying. But fortunately, Haymitch chooses this time to come staggering over the stage to congratulate me. Look at her! Look at this one! I like her! Lots of spunk! More than you! He releases me and starts for the front of the stage. More than you! He shouts, pointing directly at camera. Is he addressing the audience, or is he so drunk he might actually be taunting the Capitol? I'll never know, because just as he opens his mouth to continue, Haymitch blows off the stage and knocks us unconscious. Blah!
So, I'm curious. Obviously, he's drunk as shit. But do you think that he was, like, shot with a sleep bullet or something?
Yes.
A sleep dart.
Yeah.
And then he
You
passes
know what?
out.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Maybe that's what Effie did while Haymitch was in front of the camera.
Yeah, because he opens his mouth to continue and then immediately passes out.
Yep.
That definitely seems like a capital interference.
Yes. That could be a good fodder for Hunger Games YouTube channel conspiracy theories. Like, was Haymitch knocked out by a dart, or did he just fall off the stage?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Haymitch is having like one of his few moments of standing up to the Capitol again, and having this what he really is moments, and then he falls over. I think that it works either way.
And I love that in her inner monologue she says, "He's disgusting, but I'm grateful."
That's good stuff. Haymitch is whisked away on a stretcher. So he's really out of it.
Yep.
Or he injured himself. He doesn't seem to be very injured later on, so he's just out of it.
Yep.
He is not a very happy birthday boy.
He is not a very happy birthday boy.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah, and then Effie is trying to get the ball rolling again. What an exciting day! She warbles as she attempts to straighten her wig, which is listed slightly severely to the right. But more excitement to come! It's time to choose our boy tribute! And then she puts one hand on her head as she crosses the bowl that contains the boys' names and grabs the first slip she encounters. She zips back to the podium, and I don't even have time to wish for Gail's safety when she's reading the name Peeta Mellark. Oh, good, Gail wasn't read. That's great. I love. Oh, Peeta Mellark! Oh no, not him! Ooh, and here we get into the backstory.
Yep. So she's never spoken to this man before in her entire life, ever. But she has a connection with him.
Yep. Oh, does she? Does she? And when I was watching the movie for the first time and reading the book pretending that I've never read it before, you could see a situation where Gale and Katniss go into the games together. Like, they spend so much time talking about how they're both good at hunting and they have all this history. So I feel like this is the start of many subversions that Suzanne Collins does with the series, where she'll set up characters a certain way and then they either pop up out of nowhere or stay in the background and then become more important later.
Yep.
And this is definitely the case where you're like, we've never met this Peeta guy before. There is a bit of foreshadowing in Chapter 1 where it's mentioned that his dad's a pretty nice guy. And but we've never actually gotten to see him on the page before. So you're like, ooh, Katniss. Why does that name even make you go, oh no? When was the last time you heard somebody's name and went, oh no?
And then there's a moment where she's like, you know, maybe someone will volunteer as tribute for him, but it's unlikely.
Yeah. And they also describe him as having medium height. How do we feel about this since Josh Hutcherson is a short king?
I think he rocked it.
He rocked it, yes. Yeah, I guess that the book describes him as being more muscular a little bit. Whereas Josh Hutcherson, I definitely think is in good shape, but I never really saw him as, like, being burly.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's the kind of the idea is that appearances are deceiving for him, is that he can lift a lot of weight, but he's not especially built muscle-wise, because all he's eating is carbs, because he has to eat the stale bread at the bakery.
Yep. He gets the pig servings.
Yes, exactly. And a lot of people made fun of Josh Hutcherson's height in the movie. In the Saturday Night Live skit where Jennifer Lawrence actually played Katniss again, and they said, come on, I'm not that much taller than him. And then she, like, stands up, and then the guy who's playing Peeta says, and I've been standing the entire time.
That's so fun.
Yeah, that skit is great. I'm going to refer to it a little later on. And with, like, the Tracker Jacker stuff, because that's mentioned in the skit. Anyway, So, yeah, they're talking about how he has two older brothers. One of them is too old to volunteer, and the other won't. I'm going to call his brothers Rye is the oldest and Loaf is the second. So they all have bread names.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Including Peeta.
Yes. Yeah, although Peeta is not spelled the usual way you would expect Peeta to be spelled.
True.
Yeah. And Rye is the oldest, another bread one. And I chose Loaf because he could volunteer, but he's not going to.
Yep.
So I'm guessing that the middle child is like between 17 or 18 because Peeta and her are the same age.
Yep.
Yeah, and they say this is standard. Family devotion only goes so far for most people on reaping day. What I did was the radical thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the mayor begins to read the long, dull Treaty of Treason as he does every year at this point. It's required, but I'm not listening to a word. Why him? I think. Then I try to convince myself it doesn't matter. Peeta Mellark and I are not friends, not even neighbors. We don't speak. Our only real interaction happened years ago. He's probably forgotten it. Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
He says, I've never forgot it later on.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't, and I know I never will. And here we get the first real big flashback as that explains their history together.
Yep.
So, her dad, Burdock, had been killed in a mine accident 3 months earlier in the bitterest January anyone can remember. The numbness of his loss had passed, and the pain would hit me out of nowhere, doubling me over, racking my body with sobs.
Mm-hmm.
And the district had given them a pittance as compensation for his death. And I have to cover 1 month of grieving at which my time would be expected to get a job. But she didn't.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't do anything but sit propped up in a chair, more often huddled over under the blankets on her eyes fixed on some point in the distance. And this is the point where Candace is like, oh my god, my childhood's over. I have to become the breadwinner of the family, otherwise we're all going to starve.
Well, the crazy thing is you hear this and you think, this is terrible. Like, her dad just died, her mom, like, isn't emotionally present, and then you hear her age and Prim's age. So, Katniss is only 11. And
11!
Prim is 7. And so, as an 11-year-old, she's seeing her mom, like, completely lose her mind, essentially.
Yeah.
Her dad is dead. She knows her mom isn't going to get a job. Her sister is like crying nonstop, and she goes, oh my gosh, I am the head of household. Like, I have to be responsible for my entire family, and not only that, but I need to make it look like we're not struggling so I don't get taken to a community home. Which she essentially describes kind of like, I would say like a orphanage type situation, like foster kid situation, and she talks about how all of the kids at her school who she sees who grew up there have marks of angry hands on their faces. They look hopeless. So it's a very, very messed up situation to be in one of those community homes.
What I'm wondering is who runs the community homes.
I would guess probably the Capitol.
That's interesting because I think it could be a mix.
Yeah.
Like peacekeepers, they could be tasked with like having rowdy kids, and then the idea is maybe they'll want to be peacekeepers when they grow up because we drill into their head peacekeeper, like cleaning and discipline routines.
Mm-hmm.
But I could also see people from the districts who like don't have much money and they like take on extra money so they can take on these extra kids.
Yep.
But you get the sense, it's not a happy place to grow up in.
No, and she's only 11, and she is keeping this a secret from everyone at school, like not letting anyone know. And then at a certain point, the money runs out, and they are straight up starving to death. And she's just counting the days, because remember, you can't take out, what's it called?
Tesserae.
You can't take out Tesserae until you're 12.
Yes.
And so she's waiting and waiting to turn 12 years old, and she says she's waiting until May 8th when she turns 12, and is able to get precious grain and oil to feed them. And she's only a couple of weeks away. And she talks about how a lot of folks in District 12 do end up passing away from starvation. Mm-hmm. Except if you look at the Capitol records, it won't say that. It'll say they died from the flu or old age or anything like that. But a lot of it is just propaganda, because technically starvation does cause the death.
Yeah.
It's what leads up to it. Like, if that wasn't the case, they wouldn't have passed away.
Yeah.
But it's a bad look to have people starving when you are running this whole system in order to keep folks fed. Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of how the American government during the 1980s was too slow to respond to the AIDS crisis. And they were like, oh, these people dying of like different diseases, when the scientific consensus was it's AIDS that weakens the body, and then their immune system is down, and then another thing takes them out.
Right.
And the capital is having the same thing where they're like, oh, like, these people are all getting sick because they're in the dirty little districts and stuff like that. But they're like, no. It's because we do not have enough food to make ourselves strong.
Exactly. And so then she talks about the day where she encountered Peeta Mellark for the first time. You know, she'd seen him at school, but this was the main memory that she's talking about. So she's in town. Again, she's 11 years old.
11!
And she's trying to sell, like, these messed up old baby clothes at Prim's. So, again, it's, like, the winter time. It's cold outside. She's trying to sell, essentially, like, these trash rags that used to be baby clothes. Nobody wants it. Nobody's interested in purchasing that. Everyone else is struggling as well. And so she wants to sell them, but she's feeling worried and scared. Again, she's only 11. She talks about how for the last 3 days, all that she had was boiled water with some old dried mint leaves.
So tea.
Essentially, like, very, very mild tea. That's the only thing that her entire family has consumed in the last 3 days. And then, not only that, but she drops the baby clothes in a puddle. They get messed up even more so. And she's like, no one's going to want these anyways. And she's starving, cold, it's raining. And then she would go home, except if she went home, she'd have to see her sister and mom, who would see that she didn't bring anything home for them.
Yeah.
So she kind of gives up at that point. And she is trying to figure out what to do. And she talks about wanting to go through trash cans.
Mm-hmm.
And something that's really interesting is that all forms of stealing are forbidden in District 12, punishable by death.
Death!
And that includes going through people's trash. And so she's like, maybe I'll go through the trash, get some rotten things, like, that no one else would want to eat, just so that I don't starve to death. Knowing that the alternate could be being literally executed.
Yeah.
So she's desperate. And then she goes, bins are empty, can't even steal.
Mm-hmm.
So then she walks past the bakery. She smells the bread, and she really, really wants some of that bread. She's starving, she smells it, she looks in the trash can, nothing's there. And then suddenly, Peeta's mom, Papaya, is the name
that we've come up with.
And so the baker's wife is essentially, like, screaming at her, like, verbal abuse. And she just kind of fades. She feels like she's going to die.
Yeah, and Papaya is kind of an interesting character because with some characters in the series, you can understand where they come from. Like, the career tributes, they are eager to go into the games, but they're actually in them. You remember, they're just like children moving and conditioned to want this, and are still scared when they themselves die. But Papaya, I can understand that she grew up in District 12, albeit in the wealthier part of the district, but she's just so cruel to everyone around her. It's difficult to see why, for instance, Otho married her. You get what I mean?
Yeah, and you see this part, so she talks about how she sees, like, a mark on Peeta's face, which is obvious that he's been hit.
Yeah. And
what I think really interesting is Katniss has obviously gone through a lot with her parents, like her dad dying and then her mom basically emotionally neglecting them. And Katniss said, my parents never hit us. I couldn't even imagine it.
Yeah.
Which I think is very powerful. Like, she, even though she's not getting what she needs, like, her family loves her and cares about her and doesn't want to hurt her. But that's not Peeta's experience.
Yeah. People tend to lump abuse and neglect together as being the same thing, but they really aren't.
Yeah.
And, like, Peeta's mom is abusing him, straight up, because she's emotionally abusing him and physically abusing him. Whereas Katniss's mom is practicing neglect in that she's neglecting her own needs and the needs of her daughters.
Yep.
And it makes you wonder why Otho and her got married. Because they were both from, like, the wealthier part of the district. I guess maybe it could have been a marriage of convenience or an arranged marriage. I'm not sure arranged marriage are done as much in the districts.
Right.
Because later on, and Peeta and Katniss are kind of with this idea for like we should get married to pacify the capital. And it makes you wonder if the capital, after the victors are out, they're like, yeah, I really want you to marry that person that you were dating when you were a teenager and stay married for them for the rest of your life. Because they're celebrities. And, like, the people who they know become micro-celebrities in their own right. Because, as later on said, that the capital is very interested in the Everdeen family, especially Prim.
Right.
So I could see a situation where, like, people from the capital indicate to the victors, yeah, you should just stay with that person you were dating when you were in high school.
They definitely have a lot of control over folks.
Yeah. I'm not sure that they would be able to, they would have the interest in pushing just everybody to marry. You know, like, well, there's no really a point to that if there's no cameras around, or it doesn't benefit them in some way. So maybe what it is that he's like, I want to get married, and this is the only woman that'll take me.
Also, part of it is the more children that you have, the more food they can get. And I think even wealthy families are still struggling, right? Like, if you're on the higher end in a poor community, you're still struggling and folks around you are still struggling.
Yeah, or maybe Popeye saw something or something happened to her that kind of embittered her.
Yeah.
Like, maybe she had someone go into the games, or there was, like, riots that happened, or something like that. And she does seem like a Karen, you know? She's like, I'm going to call the peacekeepers because I saw you going through my garbage, which are things that I do not want in my home anymore.
Yeah. And she straight up, like, punches Peeta, hits him.
Yeah.
And Katniss can hear this. And so she hears it, and then immediately afterwards, he walks out, and she's yelling. She's like, feed the burnt bread to the pigs. No one will want to buy it.
And she calls him a stupid creature.
Yes.
Oof. Yeah, maybe what it is that Otho is being abused by her, and he just doesn't want to leave for the sake of the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, because abusive relationships, you tend to see them as being the man mistreating the woman, but it can go both ways. And Peeta seems to get a lot of his character from his dad, who is quiet and is generally very well liked, compared to what Katniss later refers to her as a witch. Like, she just hates Peeta's mom.
Yeah.
And you know what? With good reason.
True.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how, after Peeta won, how their relationship changed, because Peeta was no longer living in that home. Maybe Peeta became like the favorite of the family all of a sudden because he elevated his family from poverty, and in the last few months of her life, she tried to like get in on the money and stuff like that. I'm curious how Peeta would have reacted.
Absolutely.
Yeah, how would his brothers have reacted? We don't get that at all.
Yeah. They don't go into it.
Yeah, I feel like Popeye would have tried to say, like, you were always my favorite, I always knew you were my special boy, and he would just be like, you only have faith in me after I won. You didn't have faith in me when I was reaped, and you treated me as subhuman when I was in your house.
Yep. And so he's out there throwing the burnt bread to the pigs like he was asked. And at this point, he's also 11. 11 or 12.
Yeah.
Like, that's the oldest he could possibly be in this scenario. And so he's throwing the bread, and then suddenly, without even looking at her, he throws bread to her in her direction. And she pauses for a second and goes, did he mean to do that? Like, sure, the bread is slightly burnt, but, like...
It's still bread.
Yeah, it's still bread. It's warm. You could totally eat this. And so she hides it, like, under her shirt. It's burning her skin, literally, as she runs. But she runs home. The bread is still warm. They immediately start tearing into it and eat the entire thing slice by slice. And so this basically saved her family's life.
Yeah. It's the one little helpful gesture that really elevated them. I think that when everybody has a dark point in their lives, one small act of kindness really can make all the difference.
Yep. And so she's there, and then she starts thinking the next day, did he burn the bread on purpose? Like, did he know I was out there? Like, why would he burn bread, like, if he knew it meant that he was going to be beaten?
Yeah.
You know?
And then he watches her go home every day. Every day.
We'll get into that.
Yes.
But she's kind of like, why would he do that? He doesn't even know who I am. You know, like she doesn't. She's just trying to put together the pieces. Like, why would he do something so kind for me if it meant him being hurt?
Yeah, and after on the day after, she sees the first dandelion of the year, which is when spring it is.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe this event happened like in March or something. So it's the winter fading towards spring. Like that's when her life begins to get a lot warmer, a lot more sunny. And then the first dandelion of the year, a bell went off in my head. I thought of the hours spent in the woods with my father, and I knew how we were going to survive. I honestly wouldn't hate it if they named one of their kids Dandelion.
Oh, that'd be cute.
Yeah, because can it be like I noticed that dandelion and I associate it with you, so we could name our child that.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if they would have the naming pattern like the Covey have, where they have give a person a normal name and then give them a color, like Lucy Gray or Lenore Dove. Dandelion Orange, maybe?
It seems like that's probably an older convention, though.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, and Katniss never mentions that she's Covey. Maybe her dad didn't really tell her about it, or maybe at a certain point it was better to keep quiet about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, one of my headcanon is that one of the kids' name is Dandelion. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you just called them Dandel, that'd be silly. It's like dandruff.
Exactly.
Yep.
And so she talks about how she's been thinking about this moment for years. Like, she runs into him in the halls and, like, sees that he has, like, welts on his face and all that. And she feels like she owes him something. She says, I hate owing people. Maybe if I had thanked him at some point, I'd be feeling less conflicted now. So she is trying to figure out, she's like, in this circumstance where we're going to be probably killing each other or both getting killed, like, I want to thank him, but do I even do this? Like, how does this come up? And so she's really kind of puzzling over that situation because she's going to be in a lot of contact with him over the next few weeks.
Yeah. Peeta going to the games is also unlikely because he's a merchant, which is of the higher class.
That's true.
So I really feel like this year they just the Capitol had a unlikely scenario of two people who are unlikely to go into the games who went into the games.
That's true.
And then one of them was switched out because Katniss volunteered. Yeah, it makes you wonder how the games would have been different if Prim went in along with Peeta or Gale volunteered for Peeta.
Yeah.
I feel like Gale would look after Prim while in the games. And he might even consider maybe joining the careers or making an alliance at some point, but he would make a lot more difficult decisions about killing the fellow tributes.
Yep.
Yeah, and we'll get to that even more when we learn more about the other tributes. Yeah, and then the mayor finishes the speech and motions for Peeta and me to shake hands. So every year the tributes have to shake hands, which is wild. It makes it look like they're a united front when you know that they're secretly hoping for the other one to die so they'll survive.
Yep.
His hands are as solid and as warm as those loaves of bread. Peeta looks me right in the gag and gives my hand what I think is supposed to be a reassuring squeeze. And maybe it's just a nervous spasm.
I love the way that they describe his hands because it's so uncreative. It's like he's the baker. His hands are warm like bread.
His hands are bread because his name is bread.
Yeah, like it. I love Suzanne Collins so much. I love the world she's created. But some of her earlier stuff is like, she really developed as a writer over time.
She really did, Grace.
Yeah, in the beginning, like, incredible story, well done. But his hands were as warm as those loaves of bread.
Yeah, he is so District 9 core, it's crazy.
Crazy.
It makes me wonder if some people in the districts are allowed to transfer to other ones if they're like peacekeepers and stuff like that. Or, because later, I was reading a little further ahead and there's a woman named Ruba who's the butcher. And you'd think that would come from District 10 who handles cattle. Yeah, not saying that these people couldn't arrive and pop up from the trade, but it does make me wonder if there's any like transfers or anything like that.
Totally.
Yep. And then Katniss has another one of my favorite gloomy Katniss moments. Oh well, I think there will be 24 of us. Odds are someone else will kill me before I do. Of course, the odds have not been very dependable of late. Yeah, and that finishes Chapter 2.
Yep.
Section 3, next time on District 14.
Well, that just about wraps up Chapter 2, the tributes. Which chapter will we read next?
I'm glad you asked that. The next chapter is going to be called Chapter 3, the Parting.
Ooh, can't wait.
Until next time, I'm Andrew.
I'm Grace.
Happy Hunger Games!
And may the odds ever be in your favor.